So in today's video, we're going to be setting some language learning goals together and then coming up with an action plan to achieve those goals. So I'm going to go through an example using my own language learning goals, but I highly encourage you guys to follow along with this video so that you can create your own language learning goals and your own action plan. So when this video is over, you have something that you can immediately put to use. So if you want to follow along, all you're going to need is a pen and a piece of paper. Now, for those of you who prefer digital planning, I also created a free Notion template, which I'm going to put the link down in the description box for those of you who want to use it. But you're still going to want to watch this video first so that you can understand how to use the Notion template later. Okay, so let's get started.
So here are my 2026 language learning goals, and the languages I want to focus on this year are mainly Japanese and Hungarian. So I'm going to write them down here. I also want to maintain Korean and French, but they're not going to be a huge priority this year. So I'm just going to write them over here. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and just list like my main goals for these two languages. So Japanese this year, I want to like master N5, 2, and 4 level. And for Hungarian, I just want to master ideally A1 to A2. Okay, then I'm going to list some like sub goals under these languages. Now, for French and Korean, like I said, I'm just trying to maintain them, but I will just put some little notes about like what my approach is with those as well. These are things that like I might not do in this quarter. They're just kind of there as like a reminder for myself. I'm going by quarters. You don't necessarily need to go by quarters. This is just like how I operate. You can just kind of consider this like a short-term plan, like basically what you're going to do in the next few months. So I just want to list the resources that I'm going to be using to learn these languages. So basically you can just see a list of the resources that I'm trying to do this quarter. Below quarter 2, I'm going to put like months. So since I'm doing mine by quarters, I'm just going to put, April, May, June. So essentially just what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these resources that I've planned for myself and just break it down, divide by 3. Okay, so for example, like this is like 14 chapters. So, round to 15, it'd be like 5, 10, 15. So maybe like 5, 5, 4, like this. All right, so I made a mistake with my math because like I'm getting confused by this 14. So it's like this is actually chapters 3 to 16. With Hungarian, I'm focusing because I'm at chapter 5 in the main book, and then for reading, I didn't do the chapters 2 to 5 just because I only bought the book now. So I want to do chapters 2 to 5 in the reading first before going back here. So now that I have these resources listed out, I'm going to take the first month and break this down into weeks.
Okay, so there are 2 reasons why I break down my plan for the first month only. First, I know that when I set monthly goals, it's very easy for me to overestimate what I can actually do in a month. And so when I break down that monthly goal in that first month down into weekly goals, this is just a way for me to check if it's realistic or not. Also, the other reason why I only break down the first month only is because I know that things might not go to plan. And rather than fighting with that and fighting with the facts of life, sometimes we get sick, sometimes things come up, things happen, I want to anticipate that could happen. So there's no point planning the next couple months until we kind of see where we are at the end of the first month. And then as the month carries on, I will just document all the progress that I make, and I will just document how things go. That way, at the end of the month, I can look at that data and use it to review what I did in that month and use that information to help me tweak my goals for the next month. So let me show you how that looks.
Then for each week, I'm going to also put this note section where I can just record anything I want to remember or take note of as I go. Now, I'll show you some example a little bit later of how this works, but basically this is where I keep track of how I felt that week. This basically serves as a catch-all area for me to track anything else. Because let's say I do this one reading assignment, but then I come across some interesting grammar and I take a time out to go learn more. It's not necessarily part of the plan, but it's still useful and important like work that I need to do. So like I want to keep track of that. And then at the bottom, I'm going to write progress. So first, let me break this down into the weeks and then I'll explain this. You know, I broke it down like Japanese 3, 4, 4, 5, like a bit of 4 across 2 weeks, 6 and 7. And then my Monday reading, like I'm gonna do 2, part of 3, 3, finish 3, and like do 4, and then like spend the last 2 weeks on chapter 5 in the main book. Under progress, I'm just going to list my resources again like this. So when the month is over, I'll just jot down next to each one what got done.
So when the month is over, I essentially just jot down all of the things that I did under progress, and then I review all of the notes that I made along the way. So the reason that I have this progress and note taking is so that as I'm going along this journey, I'm making sure that I'm recording everything that I did, and I'm getting a snapshot week by week of what I've actually done. So when the 3 months are over, I can really look back and say, yeah, I didn't maybe hit all of the goals that I set, but look, I did this, I did that. And this really takes the focus off of like what I didn't do and back onto all of the different things that I did and like everything that I achieved. Because for me, I personally struggle a lot with perfectionism. I have this tendency to set goals for myself. Previously, I would never pay attention to what I was doing along the way. I would just list a few goals. I'm gonna do this quarter. And then the quarter would end. And then I would focus way more on what I didn't do. Like, oh, I didn't accomplish my goals. I failed. And obviously this isn't a really great mindset to have. And I wanted to shift my focus from basically being perfect and having to hit every single goal that I set 3 months ago to, okay, well, what did I actually do in those 3 months? So this is why I implement that progress, that note taking, because otherwise without it, I don't see that big picture. Because at the end of the day, I wanted to reduce these goals down to more of like a guideline and fixate more on like all of the small wins that I had along the way. Now, so that you guys can see how to implement this yourself, I'm gonna go show you an example of how this looks for me.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go through what I would write here as if I'm going through the whole month so that you guys can kind of see an example of what would look like. Okay, so like this is just like an example. So let's say like I go about week 1, I'm feeling great. So I do the Japanese, I do the Hungarian I said I was gonna do. So like my note says like spent time practicing kanji, I watched Japanese dramas, I did Hungarian Duolingo. So it's like extra things. Week 2, okay, this was not done. Like I just did 4 here, so I crossed it off. Did the Hungarian. Oh, Japanese 4, it was very challenging and full of new words. Took some time to practice more. Okay, like cool. Okay, and then because like I got behind in Japanese, like I just had to change the next week. That's what I did. You know, I'm 1 behind, but it's like I'm on track. And so, you know, just update it. And then chapter 5, oh, I didn't finish. Okay, I didn't finish Madara 5 because it was very challenging. So I wanted to work more slowly through it, and I shadowed a lot. And so basically, I have all these notes to track what I did. And so under progress, I'm just going to write down what I actually did. So Japanese reading, I did chapter 3 to 6. Madara reading, let's see, I did it all. Like I just wanted to do 2 to 4, and I did that. And then for Madara, my A1 book, I just wanted to do chapter 5. I did it, but I didn't finish it. So I'm going to say 5 and then maybe like ongoing. Okay, so I can see like if I compare this now to what my goal was for Japanese 3 to 7, I only got 3 to 6. So like I was missing 1. Okay. So that means when I'm going to do Japanese here, I'm going to be starting from 7. And are we going to finish 12? Maybe not. Okay. And then if I look here, like Madara reading, I did 2 to 4. Cool. I did it. And then Madara 5, like I did it, but I didn't finish it. So, okay, maybe over here, I'm not going to start with 6. I'm going to start with 5. And now I can look at this and create a new plan for May. All right, so now I have these updated goals for May, and then I can break down my May goals into weekly in progress, just like we did with April.
And as I said earlier, I made a free Notion template for you guys that you guys can go find in the description box if you want to kind of do all of this but digitally. But whether it's on paper or digitally, if you guys sit down and set your goals and then you get started and then you feel like you can't really seem to accomplish anything or you're struggling a lot with consistency, then you might want to check out this video here, because there's a good chance that the problem isn't actually about consistency at all, and the reasons might surprise you.